I'm reading this again, so I'm restarting it because they have it at the local library in Terrace. Pretty much the entire collection, maybe? So, hey, imagine we don't have a Superman, by the way. I know what is fictional and non-fictional, but let's imagine there's an alternate reality Earth where there is a Superman, and the Superman, let's say, is the only superpowered being there, and he's done a decent job to clean up stuff, and he's done it internationally or globally, not just like in one nation or representing a nation or patriotic in any way. And let's say there's some sort of science fiction-y accident, and he comes here. Now he's going to be pretty outraged, right? Because there hasn't been any accountability among our species, and there's also no superpowered beings or god-like entities or magical wizards or whatever. So he'd be probably kind of over time developing feelings and close relationships, as many people do. And in this storyline, in case you haven't read it, I won't do a spoiler, but there's, 2.5, let's say, of his closest acquaintances die, and he loses it. Let's call them family members or longtime friends, and he's just had enough, and he kills the person responsible, and then he's just listening to the news while he's grieving and hearing of other things going on in other countries where, again, innocents are being killed. And then he goes there, and then Wonder Woman shows up, and in this story, right? And but let's imagine, and she kind of says, hey, not here, don't people have phones, and they're recording. So he was gonna be pretty brutal or allow innocent people who've had loved ones die to vent on the president of this country that's been brutal to his own people and to his neighbors, and with weapons, right? And what makes the immature weaklings, the failed people primates, the insecure man children feel better about themselves with weapons, right? The power that comes with weapons, the false sense of security, power over others is really often just because of their own little insecurities. So Wonder Woman says, I'll call a press conference at the UN, and then he does bring that president there of that other country. Anyways, I just want to read you this part here, just so you can reference what's happening on this planet if Superman comes, okay? Right now, right? In 2024. He says, I don't care about your lands or your beliefs. I don't care about your petty squabbles. I don't care if you're a madman or a terrorist, a king or a president. You should have said a pope or things like that as well. You do not have the right to take innocent lives. I am calling for an immediate worldwide ceasefire. All hostilities will stop immediately, or I will stop them. It's over. Now, I just want to say, in case you didn't know, because most people know Superman to be from the United States, except that Metropolis is based on Toronto as a city, and that Superman is a character created by somebody from the U.S. and somebody from Canada. And but you could say a little bit more that his origins are a little bit more Canadian, Superman. But let's say everybody thinks his origins are from the USA, and that Bell and whatever. Like sometimes the states even rewrite our own history and take claim for things. And but let's say people think he's from the U.S. and he'd be patriotic and he'd be against the enemies of the U.S. Well, no offense, but as soon as he hears about what's going on in Gaza, Yeah, Israel's elites are going down. That's number one. Number two is the USA's elites are going down, etc., etc. Countries, permanent members of the UN Security Council going down. Okay, and of course they won't want this. So of course they'll be releasing a lot of nuclear weapons. So he'd have to, get rid of those really quick at the beginning, like really quick. He won't have Flash to help him or Wonder Woman. He'll be alone here. And but the thing is that's that's what you do, right? You'd turn your weapons against, even though it wouldn't hurt him. You'd just destroy your own cities and kill your own families to try to stop what you think is the bad guy who's trying to stop who he thinks are the bad guys. But you got to remember that the Superman in this storyline has had a great loss trauma. And the way that it happened as well is that he feels responsible too. So, because he failed at protecting, it was a mistake he did from the bad guy tricking him. But the thing is that's exactly what's happening now. And it's happening to not people with superpowers on Earth, because we don't have any, but we have superpower countries, they call themselves, or just people with weapons. And that includes, people in the States that you don't even know have weapons, or you don't worry because they seem fine. They seem like everybody else, which is not fine, by the way, until, they go shoot in a mall or a school or something like that. And that's really who you are as a species. Plus, in Gaza and, with Israel as well, so many people have lost. Except if you balance this, especially if you balance it in the last 50 years, it is so many more Palestinians have lost a significant number of their own family members. And if they haven't lost, they've seen them live and die through hardships. So there's a big imbalance of who the good guys and the bad guys are, but there's really no good guys on this planet, by the way. Unless you're an Homo sapien, and I have yet to find one. So it continues. The cycle continues. Okay, so it continues. There was a loss, and somehow the person is so ego-centered, not eco-centered, ego-centered, that their loss gives them, in their mind, permission to create a multiplication of this loss in others, while more and more weapons are being built. So what do you think is going to happen?